Chiefs are ready to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in preseason game number 1, and there's going to be fireworks today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. The first Red Friday of this season. We're brought to you today by LinkedIn Jobs. Make sure you can get all the qualified candidates that you're looking for. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. We're going to get into it here, in and out. Whose stock rises after this first ball game? We're going to go back and forth. That's later in the show. Then, just before that, we're going to get to in and out. Who actually has the most explosive games, the biggest contribution to this first preseason game? And we're going to start about what and how this game should unveil itself to us. This is Chris Clark over at Chiefs Corner. You can go subscribe to his Substack, get all the cap and quarterback information that you're looking for. I'm Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as RGR Football and NFL33.com. Check those out. You can get us every single day for free. It's that simple. Here on YouTube, where I'd ask you to like and sub, please. Then go over to Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else. You can get a free show. You can get us 5 days a week plus. You can also get all the breaking information and our takes at 816-357-8781. That is our text line. And make sure that you get subbed on all of our outlets because we have a ton going on right now. It comes down to fireworks. I expect that Andy Reid is going to call a vanilla game. That doesn't mean to me that Patrick Mahomes is going to take a vanilla attitude. I expect them to take shots. I expect them to explore the deeper half of the field, especially when both Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are on the field together, which I am hoping is going to be quite a bit. I don't know if they're going to come out in 11 personnel or start a little bit more basic, but I want to see those guys together, and that's what I'm expecting. What about you?
So really quick, I will say it's going to be interesting because I'm not sure if this is going to be their running game that they're practicing or their passing game, because Andy Reid generally does try to focus on one area. I would love to see it be offense. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Really quick, I do want to throw out, I am going to have a piece up on Chiefs Corner, maybe by the time this posts tomorrow or by the time you're listening to this tomorrow, about the top 5 players I'm looking forward to watching in this game, because I do think that there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to have something in this game to play for. You know, you look at it for me and you start talking about explosives and whatnot, and I have to go back and I saw a video, I think it was actually today, that showed, I think it was Patrick Mahomes' first preseason game. And if it wasn't the first, it was his first season. And it was against the Tennessee Titans. And he runs out to the right, throws the ball, 40, 50 yards off his back foot as he's getting ready to get hit, and just nails Demarcus Robinson downfield. That is exactly what the type of explosive play that we have seen from Mahomes in his career. Whether or not we see that in the preseason, we'll see. But I do think that there's a possibility. And also don't forget, let's see, this was probably year 2 or 3 of Mahomes starting. He had a 75-yard pass to Tyreek Hill in the preseason against the Atlanta Falcons. So it's not like they've never taken shots.
Exactly. I think it's best to get them out of the way now, because you know they're going to do it. They can say all day long, hey, we're not emphasizing the deep game. Oh, yes, you are. Stop lying to me. That's okay. If you want to keep it out of the ears of the competition, I understand that. But when we see it, it helps Xavier. It helps Hollywood. Obviously, Hollywood has more experience and more expectation there that he's more comfortable with. But you still have to get it, I think, taken to the next level where you're competing against a real defense in a real situation. So I do think it's important not only to do that, but to do it in this game to get off on the right foot. The other thing they have to do, in my opinion, is they have to find a way to run the ball without Isaiah Pacheco, because we know what he can do. Fantasy guys know what he can do. I think Field Yates put him in his top 8 of running backs for this fantasy season. That's how big the expectation is for Isaiah. But you got to figure out what you have as the backup. So I want to see a ton of Deneric Prince. And I do think in between shot plays, I want to see more handoffs, particularly inside handoffs where he can read and go, that kind of thing. Whereas some of the other guys, I want a little bit different package for them.
Well, and I want to see, and honestly, I know this is going to go a little bit away from maybe some of the thoughts of explosive plays when you think of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. I honestly wouldn't mind if Travis Kelce only sees maybe 3 or 4 plays in this game. You know what you have in Travis Kelce. Get Wiley on the field with Patrick Mahomes and see what they can do. See if you can take some shots to Wiley down the middle of the field in some intermediate and even some shorter routes could end up being explosive plays with the way he runs. So I take advantage of that, use that. And I'm not saying you can't, throw the ball to Kelce or get him involved a little bit, but you know what you have there. You don't know what you have with Wiley in a game situation. You don't know what you have with Hollywood Brown. And that technically, I guess, would really even be the same thing with Rashee Rice. Don't necessarily have to get Rashee Rice involved. I'm not saying you can't throw him one or a ball or two, but use Worthy, use Brown, get them acclimated in a game scenario because it is still faster than any practice you're going to have in training camp. And they've got to be thinking a little bit differently because they're going to start taking hits that they haven't got taken in training camp as well.
I agree. Now, that's how the game should unfold. Who steps up to get all that attention? Who stands out? That's where we're going to next on In and Out right after this. Passion, drive, patience. It brings the trophy home, just like the Chiefs have. And it can also affect your main vehicle, your ride or die. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain that vehicle, give it its peak performance, as well as over-the-top superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, everything to make it speedy, powerful, and stylish, all at eBay Motors because they have you covered. Over 122 million parts for your or die, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for because eBay has a guaranteed fit. Your part will fit your ride every single time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're not burning cash. You're burning rubber. At least you're trying to. With all the parts that you need and the pieces that you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. Guaranteed fit is available for U.S. customers only. It is fantasy draft season, folks. If you want all the information, go get on your second listen today. The Fantasy Football Show by Vinny I are here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. We very much appreciate it. But go pick that one up next. We are on to In and Out, and we're going to do a couple of these segments today. Right now is about who shows out, who has the biggest games. And I will start, since you asked me most of these last time, maybe we'll just go back and forth here. In or out, given the last week that we've seen, does Montrell Washington lead this team in receiving on Saturday?
I'm going to go in. And it's because I think he can play with as many QBs as, he could play all the way from probably second string to fourth string. Now, whether or not they have him playing with the fourth string is going to be a question, but I do think that that's possible. I think that you look at what he brings to this team and the way he has shown out, I think they're going to want to get a long, hard look at what he can bring as a receiver because they already know what he can do as a returner. That's why they brought him here last year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying not to put too much into practice. I do think he could have a game, especially in the second half when he's playing against 3s and 4s. If it's not him, then the guy that I think might lead the team in receiving in this particular preseason game, number one, is Sky Moore. Because I do think they want to feed him and see how he'll react at this point. Had a really nice rep against Trent McDuffie, of all people, the other day. And I wonder if there's enough momentum there that if they try to feed him, he can't respond. In or out, could Sky Moore be one of the top two then?
I think it's possible. I would say I'm probably out. I just don't think he's going to get a ton of run with the 3s and 4s. And I think that's really where what I'm looking at. Like, can he have an impact with the 2s? Yeah, I think he should have a big impact with the 2s if he's playing with the 2s. And maybe he's able to find his way on the field with Mahomes at one point. We'll see. That's going to be something that's going to be very telling is, does he get on the field with Mahomes? But I don't think he's going to be on the field in the third and fourth quarter. So that's kind of why I'm saying out on Sky Moore. So who gets a sack? Are you going to say in or out on Fabian Lovett getting a sack in this game?
If he's in the third quarter against the 3s, I am all the way in because I think you'll see him batter that pocket and push some poor offensive lineman right back into the quarterback. It won't be flashy or stylish. It won't be Chris Jones wax on, wax off, and he's through the line. But he will crush some offensive lineman into their quarterback. I'm in.
Fair enough. Kind of how I feel. I think that if he gets in the third quarter, especially if he's in the fourth quarter, that should be something where he's getting after the quarterback. Now, whether or not he gets a sack is a different ball game, but I think he should be definitely getting pressure.
I completely agree. Let's stay on that topic then. Is there a takeaway in this ball game? I think there definitely is. So in or out, does Trent McDuffie actually get an interception in this ball game?
I'm going to say out. And it's not because I don't think Trent can. It's because I don't think he's going to get that many opportunities. And he hasn't had an interception. How crazy is that? He hasn't had an interception, I believe, in his NFL career. And so one quarter, I guess I'm not betting that that's going to change on Saturday.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Leading rusher. I have a strange feeling about this one. And it obviously is going to be volume dependent. But at the end of the day, I do feel it's not going to be any of the guys that we talk about enough. I think that Ingram is likely to get the most total yards from the running back position in this first preseason game. You're in?
I'm in, and I think that he should be getting the most yards per carry as well. I'll take it a step further because I do think that you're going to see him against the third and fourth string players, and those are guys that he should be beating on a regular basis. I think he's good enough to beat those types of players. But again, this goes back to what we've talked about every single year is you can't just look at those guys that are making plays in the third and fourth quarter because the level of competition they're going up to, most of those guys are not going to be playing on Sundays.
Agreed. That brings me to my last one that I feel pretty strongly about. We've placed a lot of attention on 12 and what Jared Wiley's going to bring to this offense. I think in this particular ball game, it might be a little bit thin. I think when it's all said and done, playing all the way through the 3s and 4s in the second quarter, I think Baylor Cupp actually puts up more yards and maybe more catches as well than Jared Wiley does in this game. Are you in or out?
It's so tough. I think Wiley could get run with the 1s and 2s. I don't think that they're going to put him in there. Though I think that there's an argument that could be made that you put him in there with the 3s just because you need him to get snaps. You need him to get reps. You want to get him acclimated to the speed, and you want to get him acclimated to playing in the NFL. So I could make an argument that he gets play with even up to the 3s. I would say you're probably right there. I'd go in on Baylor Cupp having more catches and I'll just say probably more catches or targets, I guess, maybe even the better way to go about that for the tight end room than Jared Wiley. And it's not because I don't think Wiley can produce. It's more of I don't think that he's going to get a ton of opportunities in this game.
I think that's fair.
In or out?
Any others?
Yeah. Felix Anudike-Uzomah getting a sack.
Foul. I have to say this. It depends on when he gets in. If he's rotating with Mike Dana still with the 1s, I'm going to say not yet. But if he gets the second quarter snaps, like Andy said, 2s play in the second quarter against a backup tackle, my money's on FAU. I'm in.
Yeah, I think I have to be in on that one as well. I think that he has shown that he has the ability. And the problem that you get into with some of these 2s, 3s, and 4s is you only have so many players. You don't have four guys that are going to be playing, or 8 guys really that are going to be playing defensive end. So I would expect he's not going to really get any snaps with the 1s unless you get into a passing situation and they want to try to get after it and kind of take a different look, which they don't generally do in the preseason. So I would expect that he's just going to be playing with the 2s and maybe a little bit with the 3s, but don't read too much into the fact that he'd be running with the 3s just because I think it's also they just don't have the bodies. You're limited as to what you have. Omenihu is not on your roster right now because he's probably not playing until I think it was reported November at this point. So I do think that you're going to be seeing situations there. Last in or out for me. Jalen Watson. No, actually, I'm not going to go Jalen Watson. I'll say Chamari Connor gets a pick.
I think he's more likely to knock somebody out, but I like the way you're thinking.
And if it's not going to be get a turnover. Get a turnover.
Okay. Yes, then I am absolutely in. It might be a rip to produce a fumble, something like that. But yeah, he's going to be a collision waiting to happen. I'm excited about that, and I think that will help him raise his stock. That's what we're talking about next. Not who has the most explosive games, but through the course of doing their job and fulfilling their assignments, who rises their stock coming out of this game for the all-important last week of camp in St. Joe. Who could that be coming up next here in Locked On Podcast Network?
When you're hiring for small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other job leading sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe it's you never skip leg day or therapy day. Or maybe one of your non-negotiables is you're going to be sitting there watching football on Saturday and Sunday once the fall comes around. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you've got no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
This is the fun part, folks. Game number one, the first glimpse at true game speed. You can get it all, and we're going to cover it in depth here on this show 5 days a week plus. So make sure you're subscribed on some platform or the other, and check us out at KC Chiefs Corner, at RGR Football, at NFL 33. We got a ton out there for you to get ready for this season for your Chiefs and more. So this is where we change the focus. It's not about having the most flashy game or the most yardage produced, but who earns more chances or overtakes the guys they're competing against. I have one, and I'm going to rule myself out of this partially because I am a little bit biased here. But it comes down to a couple of guys competing for a spot, and we're going to stay with the Hollywood spot, as I'm going to call it here. In or out, Justin Ross actually improves his stock to the point where we're talking about him, Sky Moore, and Kadarius Toney competing to be on the 53. Can Justin Ross do that in this game?
I'm going to say in, and I know people are going to be a little bit surprised about that. And the reason I'm saying in is because this is the type of situation that he should thrive in. This is, I mean, he's going to be going up against, I don't know how late he's going to play. Is he going to play even into the third quarter? I guarantee he's probably going to be on the field with the twos. Is he going to be on the field with the ones with Mahomes? If he is, that means that that's where they feel like he can be useful. And then, he's going to get run with the twos. Is he still going to be on the field with the threes? I mean, you look at his talent level, talent alone, and this is what we've talked about. Talent alone, he should be a guy that should be running away from anybody that's on the second team or third team or fourth team, obviously. So in that scenario, I think that we could be talking about him having a big game, but that's the question: is he going to show out? Is he going to be where he's supposed to be? And can they trust him? Because I will tell you this, Mahomes may look at him and throw him the ball if he's in there with the ones, but Carson Wentz also knows his offense very well. And I think that he's going to be comfortable in this offense. And I think that's a huge part of actually getting a better feel for what the twos can bring, because last year I don't think they got that because the quarterback wasn't playing well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'd argue that Carson Wentz is better for Justin Ross in this particular ballgame to show off what he can
Absolutely.
do. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go with, and I know we've talked about this guy a lot, but I'm going to go with Kingsley Suamataia. In or out? He takes over
I'm all the way
LT1.
in. Yeah, we leave this ball game with absolutely no question in my mind, especially if Wani Morris isn't able to be 100%. And we know that he went back and stayed in practice yesterday, but he does have a little bit dinged up knee. And even if that's totally minor, it still probably takes away a little bit. I think there's absolutely no question he is LT1 after this ball game. Totally in.
Well, and it's going to be curious to me because I'm curious who Jacksonville plays. That's the other thing about this is, are they going to be playing their starters? I would expect that they're going to. I think that's generally how they do things in Jacksonville, but we'll see. And I agree with you. I think he's going to show that he belongs being the tackle, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun because once you have that position set, your entire offensive line should feel pretty good. The only thing that he's going to have to figure out is how to play with Joe Thuney when Joe Thuney is ready.
Right. I mean, and I think this is the perfect spot to get a tune-up so you can measure yourself, not against your teammates, but against the league, because you're going to get a former first-round pick in Trayvon Walker, first overall, and you're also going to get the other first-round pick on the other side in Josh Allen. He now hyphenates his name, Josh Allen Hines. So you guys are going to see that. If both those guys play, he's going to get thrown straight into the fire, and I think that will actually help.
Especially if they take some deep shots.
Absolutely. Okay.
Who's your next one?
I'll let you answer this one. Because you know what I'm going to say. Of the running back class, who moves up more? Is it former, we already said his name, Generic Prince, who's getting the ones? Does he solidify himself there? Or does Carson Steele show enough that they have to give him more play in the second ball game to see if he's actually viable for this roster?
I think, and I'm surprised you didn't bring this up in the last in or out, I think the big thing with Carson Steele is that they have to use him on the first and second team. If they don't use him as a fullback on first and second team, I don't think he has a great chance of making it. And I know that sounds maybe a little harsh, but the reality is if they're going to have him on this roster, they need to know that he can play at that level. And he has to be where he's supposed to be. He has to be able to take the blocks that he's supposed to be able to take. And he has to be successful as a fullback. And quite frankly, I will be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing what kind of hands the guy has in the preseason game. I know that people don't like to talk about maybe throwing to a fullback unless you're on the 49ers, but Kansas City and Mahomes have taken advantage of that with Anthony Sherman multiple times. So I do think that that's something that you need to see. And I think that Prince is going to take over RB2, and I think that's going to be pretty clear after this game. But I do think that if Steele wants to make it, he needs to be out there with the first and second string, at least a couple of snaps to show he can do what he needs to do.
Okay. Last in or out then. We know that Mahomes in the offense probably has the advantage. They may get out to a lead, but it's going to be up to the backups and the thirds to really win this ball game. Do they get a W against the Jaguars, in or out?
Based on who Kansas City is going to have out there, I'm going to probably go out. And the reason I say that is because Chris Jones probably not playing in this game. Nick Bolton probably not playing in this game. And I know the first stringers don't really have that big of a impact on the preseason games, but it is going to impact who plays and how long they play and how fresh they're going to be at the end of the game going up against the 3s and 4s. So, you look at some of those guys that are going to be getting more snaps. I think that's going to play into it. And I do think that when it gets to the 3s and the 4s, it comes down to who has a better offensive game plan, really, more so than maybe even some of the defensive players to an extent. So I would think that the Jaguars maybe be able to take advantage of that a little bit, but the defense should feel pretty good about going up against, Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz in practice. So it could be a big game. I'm going out for right now. Obviously, if this is ones versus ones, I think Kansas City wins and probably maybe not extremely close, but I think it's a win for Kansas City. But with a preseason game, I just don't think that Reed cares that much. He will go for it if it comes down to it, but he's not gonna show anything. And I think Jacksonville feels like they need to show more. Is I guess really where I would go with that.
That's probably true, and you have a very good point about who won't be playing in this game. But the guy that will be playing in this game that I think will make the difference is because they'll be able to put up points. I think Carson Wentz's progress to this point in this offense is night and day from any other backup we've seen in quite a while since Chad Henne left. So in my mind, I think scoring through the seconds and thirds is going to be more on the table. So I'm going to be in. I say the Chiefs get a win this weekend to start the preseason, right? What do you guys think? Leave your comments down below.
I know that was your last one. I have one quick last one. Oh. Jaden Hicks. How many quarters does he play? I'm going to say I'll put it at 3.
Ooh.
In or out?
Only 1/2 for me. I am out on 3 quarters. No, I don't think you can expose him that much because if everything goes to plan, he should be a guy that rotates in pretty heavily with Shamar Connor at nickel. If it doesn't go to plan, you don't have Justin Reed, he's got to start for you. I am convinced of that. So I don't think you can overly tax him. I think he gets maybe 1.25.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm really curious to see what they do with him because you're right. If Reed isn't able to go, he is the starter and they need to get him ready, which actually makes me lean a little bit more towards him getting some playing time in the third quarter.
You may be right. I think so far we've seen Shamar Connor go back and they mess around and put Trent back in the nickel and play with the corners because they have more depth there. But I'd like to see it be the opposite. But we're going to find out, folks. What do you think about Jaden Hicks? Leave your comments on YouTube here. If you're listening on audio, go subscribe to us on the video side. Make sure you can leave your comments. That's where we get the bulk of them and we can respond as well. So I'm excited about it. Hope you enjoy your Red Friday. Get ready. It is 6 p.m. local kickoff, correct? 5 p.m. my time. We're going to have a good time. We're going to be live with you afterwards. Awesome. We'll be live with you afterwards. Come join us here. I'll be live later on RGR as well. So we're going to have plenty of breakdown for you. Make sure that you're subscribed. Enjoy your Friday. Get ready for Saturday night. Thanks for being with us now. Over and over and over. The season is finally here, whether you like it or not. I certainly am ready. You guys have a great one. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.